Proverbs 15 verse 14. The discerning heart seeks knowledge, but the mouth of a fool feeds on folly. Christ told us to be as wise as serpents, yet harmless as doves. Of course, we're not in this journey together to merely seek knowledge. We are in this journey together to not to be enlightened or to seek illumination. We are doing this to find out the truth of the times that we are in, the signs that we are seeing, and how to warn others and discern between what is good and what is not. It's becoming pretty obvious that a lot of stuff in this world is tainted by this agenda and by this spiritual evil, which we need to be very aware of in order to discern it. There is a great deception coming upon the whole world, and the church is stuck right in the middle of that deception, and that is one of the potentially the clearest signs that we are in the last days, is the falling away of the church. And it is just happening all over, and in this video I hope to expose some of that deception and give you clues on what things mean and the deception that is coming and has already infiltrated the church. Now, there is a big need to understand this, because these deceptions are so deeply laid out by the elite and by the satanic spiritual agenda. What we have to understand here is that this time they are externalizing the hierarchy. And why they're doing that, they're externalizing the hierarchy of a satanic New World Order. They're doing it with a lot of the Controlled Truth movement, with David Icke, with Alex Jones, people like that and Mark Dice. They're saying this satanic New World Order is evil and it needs to end. Now, why are they doing that if they are insiders? Well, it's because the satanic New World Order is the thesis, and the Antichrist, the false Jesus, is the antithesis. So they want you to want this system to end, and that is what they are doing at the moment. That is why they're externalizing the hierarchy, because they want you to hate the satanic New World Order, and they want you to want a new Luciferian age of love and New Age spirituality. And that is the epitome of it all. That is why they are doing this and rolling this out at this time. It's a very, very deceptive trick, but it is all about slaying the dragon of the old world order and bringing in this new age of love and spirituality. But it's a false light, it is Luciferian light, and it is of the same beast. Now, what do you do when people they say to you, well, you're looking too deeply into this? I'm sure you know of people that do this. They think you're mad. They think you're mad because you're seeing something that isn't there. Okay, so the way you need to respond to that point, especially when you get atheists who say, well, there's no such thing, and you're looking too deeply. Just like the volcano Volvic water advert that I covered last video. Somebody, a few people said, well, this ad is not what you're saying. It's just about a volcano. It's just about water that comes from the volcano. Well, that's the exoteric meaning. That is not the esoteric meaning. There are two meanings. The one that publicly is known out in the open is the exoteric meaning, and that is the obvious one. That's the one you're fed on a plate. But the hidden hand, the spiritual truth behind it all, is the esoteric meaning, and that is the hidden hand that many will not see. And that does not mean it's not there if you don't see it. It just means your eyes aren't open to that, which I personally have had my eyes more opened when I prayed to God for answers and realised that I could not do it on my own. So I thought I'd just let you know that as a handy hint, and let's just have a look quickly into these things. I'm going to run through as quickly as possible. So with this new Christian movements, these huge worldwide stages they have on television, which is like no other time in history. The deception is so easy to push in this time. This health, wealth and prosperity gospel is at the core of this, the TV evangelists. So let's look at this. So just to remind you, the Monster energy drink with the 3 nails, which is Vav 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 666, but they are the 3 nails that crucified Christ, and it's about the birthing of the Antichrist, the inversion of Christ. So even on here you can see that they've put the blood at the end of those 9-inch nails. So just so you're re-aware that that's what this is all about. We've even got there the Phoenix Monster Army, the Phoenix rising with the 3 nails. 666. So then when we go to someone like Joel Osteen, who is a big South American preacher, TV evangelist, he's got the same thing. If you tilt this on the side, you'll see that the inverted of this picture are actually those 3 pegs, the 3 nails, and 666, which he has got on his logo. So that should tell you what these people are actually about. Usually I'd say it's not always these people that are in the know, but with these TV evangelists, I'm sure they know exactly what they're doing because of the nature of it. You see how he's got the L singled out there, EL on there. We've got the 2 vectors and you got L. This is also the as above so below, the mirror. And you know, there's been a few people exposing things like this with Joel Osteen. I've not seen people talk about the 3 nails yet, but we've got the crescent moon on here, which is interesting that he's got that 666, Vav Vav Vav, and also it correlates with this, the witchcraft, the crescent moon with the 3 6s. So moving on, this is Quake 2, just to show you these nails that they use. This is a bit like the EU Europa symbol, which we also see as the gate on Devil's Due. So here you've got the 2 nails here forming the gate, but you see they've actually squeezed in the 3rd one just there in that corner. There's just 1 in that one. So there you have actually got the 3 nails, Quake 2. And as I've exposed before, you got the 3 nails on the Jesuit sigil, the Black Sun sigil, right at the bottom there. All very Antichrist. A lot of Protestant, so-called Protestant churches, Church of England, have the IHS somewhere in the building. And here again with the Quake Ground Zero. And what's interesting here is the evil within. You see this stuff pushed all over. The evil within, you see that this is in the shape of that nail again, but we've got 3 words. So technically you've got the 3 nails there covering those 3 words, the evil within. You see how they've made it into the nail. And this just shows you how relevant Christ is and how relevant his death was. On this Michael W. Smith, which is another self-appointed Christian artist, we've got the triple cross, which I went into on my recent videos about the Kabbalistic tree and the birthing of the birth of the beast, how the 3 levels. It wouldn't surprise me if this isn't to do with the 3 nails or the XXX. Remember, Christ was crucified in the center of the XXX, and there's the gate around that. So you've got that triple cross there, Exodus. Remember also we talked about the Exodus, their Exodus from the barren land being the symbolic of the birth of the barren and the fallen, the rebellious who dwell in the barren land, the Exodus. And here you've got, again, you see how this is another Christian album, Christian artists, I Am Empire, anchors, and they've extended those 3 just there, which potentially is the same kind of thing we're looking at. It's very strange that they're doing that with this boy coming out of the sea. Remember, this is all about coming out of the sea with the anchor, which is the cross, and he's coming out the sea. It's the king of the abyss, just like with the Omen child you saw with the Sea King references. I broke that down before. The Omen showed that same, the boy looking out over the sea, and that is the Omen child. And this, I'm not going to go into I can't remember, I lost a few details with what this was to do with, but this was to do with the church event. And here you see, you've got the 3 nails on the cross, one voice, and you've got 11, 11, 11, which is the Stargate. Now, when I'm saying, I just want to make it clear here that when I say these things, I don't mean that everyone is in this conspiracy together. We're not talking about flesh and blood here. At the very least, this is spiritual synchronicity and not necessarily people responsible. I don't know for sure, but most of the artists certainly have some kind of background with certain things that make me wonder, and certain lyrics in the song that make me wonder whether they do know what they're talking about. But 11, 11, 11 is 33, and it's the Stargate. We see the New Age had, on the 11th, 2011, they had a opening the gate. They all believed some gate was going to open, and this is what it's about. This is the movie 11, 11, 11. The end is now. It's all about the fallen angels, and we're talking the gates. And you often see Masonic-wise churches such as this in London. You'll see them, the false Jesus. They'll have between the 11, 11 pillars. So you see there, you've got 11, 11. And what else have we got here? We've got the black sun, rays of light up the top. You've got the arch formed over the top, the linking of the 2 pillars, the rainbow bridge, the plus linking to the minus, the electrical schematic, and you've got the false Jesus in the centre. And there you go. So moving on, this is a Christian Association of Christian College Athletics, and you see how their symbol is just the Saturn logo, red and blue. And with that even looks itself like the Xbox, the new Xbox logo, where you've got that X engraved into the circle. But this essentially is the Ox, the OX, the god of time and space. So it's the Ox, and here you've got a Christian band, so-called Christian band, Sonic Flood, to do with the sound, the tones, and you've got Saturn there very clearly in the wave and the sound waves. This looks very much like the gate, the vaginal gate thing we've seen many times, like in the movie The Gate from 1987. But it's all to do with Saturn and the abyss, and these are on Christian albums. Just to let you know how far this has gone, how deep this has gone. This is another one, another Christian album called Empire. We've got the clouds and the storm forming. You often see storms with this, the perfect storm. Christ said when the sky's red, you know there's a storm coming. And that was all to do with the signs of the end times. So here you've got that ox again. And you notice they've got the passageway there like the gate. And this is the OX, time being the circle, X being space as the square. And you've got that right there. And you've got it right there, Salem Christian School. You've got the same thing. That's why there's the O and the X. It's the ox. And there's even been a Christian channel talking about an ox anointing recently.
Today I have a message on the ox anointing. And I'd like you to turn in your Bibles if you have them. Today I have a message on the ox anointing. Today I have a message on the ox anointing.
And it literally, guys, it is just everywhere. Again, I'm not saying that everyone is in this conspiracy together as flesh and blood, although some of them are. This is ultimately a spiritual battle and the manifestation of it as the churches go further from the truth. As the whole world slips further towards the beast, these things will be manifesting at an increasing rate, and I'm guessing that most of you can see that already. and the Christian bands are including this at an alarming rate. It's being incorporated into the Christian church. They've done it with Bibles, changing the translations to make them more New Age friendly, and it's all over Christian music. The incorporation of so-called Christian rock, which is just, I mean, I can't even believe what some of those Christian rock bands show, and it certainly isn't what you would think of as Christian. So this is as above, so below, and I'll show you a couple of examples how they've used this similar setup on a few Christian bands such as Switchfoot. Nothing is sound. You've got that as above, so below with the tree, stars, pentagrams, and we've got this guy here climbing the ladder with the butterflies towards the rays of light from the sun. Probably much like Jacob's ladder there. Stairway to heaven. Nothing is sound. And same with Casting Crowns. Again, I'm not saying any of these people in these bands necessarily know what this is, but they really need to do their research, because it's not too difficult now. And you've got to remember that record companies are involved with this artwork anyway, but you've got the same thing there, the as above, so below on the tree. And with with the Message Bible, which is another New Age version that's come out, what they've done, I wanted to draw your attention to here, is the Lord's Prayer. They've changed it to, if we go to the beginning in the King James, you see, after this manner therefore pray ye, Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Now the Message has changed this to, Our Father in heaven, reveal who you are, set the world right, do what's best, as above, so below. And you see how they're incorporating this occult terminology into the churches, and this is one of the reasons that the church, I believe, is falling away so badly. This is the plan in these times, to take the church itself away from true belief in Christ, I believe, and to turn the whole world toward the beast. That is the plan, to turn the whole world to worship the beast. That's what the prophecy is. And, you know, once upon a time I thought, how would that even be possible? But we can see it. We can see it now. The incrementalism is speeding up, and we can see that the track is headed straight for that exact prophecy, as with many others. Now this is a Christian rock band called Under Oath. Desolate earth, the end is near. Got the Saturn in the O, obviously, and we've got this, they love this tree. I think it's all to do with the return to Eden that they want. And you see how they've done it there. It's like the golden age, the go green, and this looks to me a bit like fall. But it's all to do with go green, the golden age, the green man, Lucifer, Luciferian age. And this is what we're seeing. This is on Christian rock bands. People like Michael W. Smith, who's another popular Christian artist, he's even doing runic alphabet symbols on his albums and with his body. You see how he's got the Smith there is the runic symbol for T, and the M is the runic for M. He's incorporating it there, and he's doing that arrow with his body. The same two symbols. And Sonic Flood, again, we've got this character coming out of a purple abyss with his hands raised up. This is the Purple Sea. And look, I mean, this is Christian music. These are all Christian bands. This isn't even supposed to be worldly, quote unquote. Skillet's album Awake got that same eye, left eye, obviously the Antichrist symbology, just like in Zechariah, the worthless shepherd. And he's got the one eye, just like this horror movie, Right to Die. See, these people just said totally looks like. They think this is some kind of joke, but it's not. It's spiritual synchronicity. And we've even seen this in a Gospel of John movie. Lazarus comes out of the tomb after the false Jesus in that. Holds up the Vesica Pisces rebirth symbol with his hands as he prays, and Lazarus comes out of the tomb with this kind of one-eyed thing going on. And it's just everywhere. So we've got pyramids in Hillsong Church with gates, the circle across the top, got the mountain at the front, and the gates and the pyramids. So another one is Joyce Meyer. I don't know if you've heard of her. Another health, wealth and prosperity gospel preacher. They kind of give you a new age, feel-good, self-help kind of talk. But then it's supposed to be a church, and it is all about you. And I've even heard it said that you are a sinner if you aren't prosperous, and things like this. So it's kind of this whole health, wealth and prosperity gospel. And Satan shows up as an angel of light. He shows up with people pretending and masquerading. So anyway, this is where it gets interesting. We've got Joyce Meyer Ministries, the hand of hope. You see the way they've done this hand on here. Now this is very similar to what we've seen elsewhere with you have the Jesus with the vaginal symbol in the nail wounds. He puts these eyes and he can see through those marks, and he can see through those marks. The nails removed, and the beast can be reborn, and he can see. It's the gate.
This freaking thing was making sure we couldn't get out.
It's like an inversion of Christ's wounds right there, and almost like the gate is the inversion of Christ's wounds. When Christ died, it was a nail in the coffin of the spiritual fallen, the wicked spirits of Satan, of everything. It was a mighty blow to Satan's kingdom.
There is a passageway to the most evil place you can imagine. A gate behind which the demons await.
This freaking thing was making sure we couldn't get out.
Just like you had in the Hamza hand. That is the vaginal female symbol. The gate. The rebirth. That is an age-old symbol. No one actually knows how far back that goes. And it's to do with the gate, and you often see like the Hamza, the eye. The Mafia, the black hand, had the same thing. The dark hand. And we have the Hamza hand. The eye is the gate. And this is supposed to banish demons, but I believe it is completely the opposite. It represents rebirth and is the gate. Joyce Meyer has got the same kind of symbology there, just like the Mafia did also. So with the Vesica Pisces, there's a double Vesica Pisces and various other geometry. This is to do with the vaginal symbol. And the double Vesica Pisces to do with the eye. But this is the creation, the vaginal symbol. You often see the false Jesus in this same symbol, especially with the transfiguration artwork where he's transfigured. And of course this is all to do with CERN, the transfiguration of the planet, and the birth of the 13th pillar, the Antichrist. Now you see how some of the Christian organisations, interestingly, are using that right there. Churches together, and they've put the Vesica Pisces in the centre of the O and the G, who was actually a giant. OG. And we see this, like, this is ridiculous. There was a book that came out called The Bible Illuminated. It is the Bible, but it's kind of a modern version of it. And yes, it is too good to be true. The symbology here is just clearly evident, not only in the fact it's called Bible Illuminated, but we've also got that same Vesica Pisces at the bottom. All very dark imagery, which is just, it's insane what's going on. People with their itching ears just want what they want, and not the truth. And we have it with the Chanel logo, which often with things they sell to females like perfume, they'll use symbology, feminine symbology. I guess it helps to sell them better, and it's part of the magic of it. And you've even got a MasterCard. And with third day, of course, third day being the day that Christ rose, but also you've got to be aware that they can use this for their own purpose as well. Now with that third day, you've got the sun disk with wings, and that looks a lot like the double vesica, potentially. I'm not too sure on certain things like this, but this I know is to do with the, as I said before, the flying vagina, which I broke down before, the gate, the stone gate, the wings, the sun disk, the black sun, the oculus, and the gate. Just like you see in that volcanic advert, the water commercial, you got at the beginning of the whole creation sequence and recreation sequence, you have that black sun, ring of fire. And of course this is the counterfeit creator. This is the false parasite we're talking of here. This is the problem we are in, and this is the kingdom we are in, which is why we need the Messiah, which is Jesus Christ. You see, even see him using it, the triple, on the Son of God movie. Their empire, his kingdom. And this is all about the, as I said in the last video, the antithesis to the thesis of a satanic New World Order. This is the antithesis. The false Christ is the so-called peace, the so-called false love, false light. And this is not going to be real light like the real Christ. But again, it's a false peace. It's an absolutely false peace, as described in the Bible. Now, some of these Christian, so-called Christian bands have incredibly dark symbology, and some of you will know exactly what this is. This is a band called Red, Until We Have Faces. You see how they've made all these into threes, which is another thing they do quite often. But right there you've got that same under the skin, because it's in the womb. It's the demonic entity pressing its face, screaming, the ma, the open ma, screaming because of the nature in which they are trapped. And like we've got the movie coming out called Under the Skin, which I've covered before, and they're in the womb. Even their track list here, you've got the track number 1, Feed the Machine. You've got all this kind of best is yet to come, buried beneath. And this is the nature of what they are in. It's the barren womb. It's the barren mother. And this is why they show the barren land and the water coming into the barren land. And these are all Christian groups, guys. Forever Reign, One Sonic Society, the Figure of 8 Infinity, the barren land, pretty much exact to the Swedish House Mafia music video with those distant mountains or hills with the completely barren land of death. And Third Day, Miracle, barren land. This is what I mean. These guys are just full of it. These guys are just, it's evident all over. They're literally standing in the barren land. As it says in Psalms, the rebellious dwell in a sun-scorched land. Peace on earth, casting crowns. And this is the barren land. Christ said, I came not to bring peace on earth. This false Christ, false Jesus, is the one that they want to bring so-called peace on earth, and it is a false peace.
Out of these troubled times, our fifth objective, a new world order can emerge, a new era, freer from the threat of terror, stronger in the pursuit of justice, and more secure in the quest for peace. An era in which the nations of the world, east and west, north and south, can prosper and live in harmony. 100 generations have searched for this elusive path to peace, while 1,000 wars raged across the span of human endeavor. And today that new world is struggling to be born. And today that new world is struggling to be born. A world quite different from the one we've known.
It's quite simple. See, Jesus said, by the fruits you will know them. By the fruits you will know them.
When I read in the Bible where he says, I am, I just smile and say, yes, I am too.
When I get to glory, all my bills will be paid. Brother, I won't have bills in glory. I won't need to have my bills in glory.
Then why? You need more money. Because money is a tool that can accomplish phenomenal things.
But I believe God with you that as you sow tonight, you're going to sow this and you're going to reap that. Give them a supernatural miracle tonight.
So just talking back to the barren land that we keep seeing in so many places, including Sinbad movie. They go into the gates of Tartarus and they go down, fall down into the pit, and they end up on the barren land with the mother goddess. And the rapture we keep seeing is the aperture of the camera from the barren land. That's something I need to look into, but I certainly know it isn't a biblical term. And I've always been skeptical about the word rapture, but it's interesting that aperture is very, very similar. In fact, it's rapture when you put it, swap the letter around. And of course we see it's the camera lens, the shutter in the sky, the spiral. And we keep seeing it over and over again, and that's the portal.
No longer a human.
And of the amount of times I've seen that the rapture is shown as something that of them coming from the barren land and being raptured here, pretty much. And I think that is the plan, to bring hell here. Now, when we talk about this barren land and the womb, just check out in the Proverbs of Solomon, chapter 30, verse 15 to 16. Skipping on, there are 3 things that are never satisfied, yea, 4 things say not, it is enough. The grave and the barren womb. The barren womb. The earth that is not filled with water. That's potentially talking about dry land right there. And the fire that saith not, it is enough. Now, this person left me a comment which was really great, and I'll just read it out. In Hebrew, it's stated as the womb and the mouth of hell. So the symbol is no more a symbol, but a fact for those who know the reality of hell. A womb which is never satisfied. And as I said before, what we're seeing on the screen these days is very vivid depictions of hellish things and things of the hell nature, the hell realm, the dimensions, and we are seeing it over and over again, shown to such explicitness. As I said, I have friends who have had dreams about things like this, and we are seeing those same things on the screen, and that is just incredibly, that's just a testimony to what we are seeing and what's manifesting and being shown at this time. Everything is being revealed, and this is what I believe hell could well be like. It is literally being stuck in the same thing and a loop. I've heard people's near-death experiences of hell where they describe it being a cube, and certainly Avicii in Buddhism describes it as that same thing.
Brian Melvin died after being infected with cholera from drinking water. He describes how his soul was separated from his body and taken to hell. While in hell, his demon guide showed him miles of cubes, most of them containing the souls of people suffering their own personal hell for their deeds during their life on earth.
And then that creature stuck its hand in this horizon, and he ripped it open like a veil, and he stepped out of it up onto this road, and he telling me to come, motioning me to come, so I did the same. I just went ahead, I got out, and the next thing I knew, I was on a large, wide, dusty, flat road. I just came out of a cell, a cube. And in the walls are embedded peoples in cells. And he pointed to another cube, and in this cube I was looking at there were people inside these cubes. Some were vacant, some people waiting for people to arrive like I did. There's this person in there, and I was just looking at them, and then it was showing me another person. Each person that was in their cube was like they were reliving parts of their life all over again, but and not in a very pleasant way. It's like a living nightmare.
Just watch this. There you have the stone rolling away, and you see down into the womb.
What the hell is this? When I was a kid, we had a piano that looked exactly like this.
So they find out in this place that it's actually, they find things of their past in there. This piano was from his childhood, but it's all a loop. It's all torture in this way, and what they've done in life comes back to haunt them, etc.
I used to play it all the time. The A4 key was messed up.
So you see how this is a representation of hell.
What's going on?
Just over and over again. It doesn't matter always even what order it's in. It's just showing the same thing over and over again. So it's the inscription over the gates of hell. And they were made to crawl on their bellies in the kingdom of darkness. You see here, the walls again are made of bodies. This is such a vivid depiction of hell. And he goes down the rabbit hole, and inside the belly of the beast, he sees that this place is literally lined, the walls are literally lined by bodies. So your past will haunt you. This is... And this is what people want for entertainment, which I can't believe. Anyway, look at the name of the movie and look at the symbol they've used. All that I can say is, and the only reason I do these videos is because I know there is a true hope, there is a true bridge, a true Messiah for us to the Father. And that is all this is about. They have their Christ. Do not be fooled by the terminology they are using for their false Christ, because they are waiting for this, and they are showing it in many different ways. It often is the evil, just like in the new movie I watched the other day called Maleficent with Angelina Jolie. She plays the evil in the movie, the one that turns evil, and that I believe is representing that same kind of dragon figure. And then you get the blonde girl, which is the Antichrist, which is the Lamb of Isis, and they show that the evil is destroyed many times in these movies. The evil dragon will be destroyed, and then they will have their Antichrist, usually blonde, female, but it doesn't matter whether male or female, they will have their Antichrist figure, who will bring on a new golden age, and that is the crux of the whole of this. If you can understand that, the Hegelian dialectic battle between the same beast. I mean, Angelina Jolie even called the young blonde girl Beastie in that, and it is the same beast. It is one fighting, the same beast fighting against itself, saying that, oh, Satan is defeated because of this false Jesus, false light. And that is exactly what is playing out in a majority of big movies coming out now. And all I can say is we have a real Christ. We have the Christ, who is our Christ, and he is the only way to the Father. And we just need to rely on what he has done to get us out of this curse. Pray to him, ask for his forgiveness, ask for the Father's forgiveness because of the blood of Christ, what he did on the cross for us. And the demons, the spiritual wickedness is nothing compared to Christ, compared to the Father. I mean, I'm sure that's pretty obvious anyway. In my opinion, there's not even a battle between the Father and them. And look at all the work they go to in leading souls away from the Father. Then you've got to think to yourself, why do they blaspheme Christ? They're clearly trying to hide something that is incredibly important. And that is exactly why they are blaspheming Jesus Christ in nearly every movie that you will watch. If we really want to be discerning in this time, how would we discern without the knowledge of what to discern from? And this is exactly what they're using to fool people, that they have no idea of the spiritual symbology or the spiritual language or anything. So people are so detached now that they just can't see kind of what's going on. So finally, I want to look at this last one, third day, again. And we've got those same three colours, like for Superman colours, the red and the blue pillar, Yashin and Boaz, and you've got the yellow for the sun in the centre, and you've got time with the infinity loop. And of course they want to break that themselves, and they want to end time itself. It prophesies that in Revelation. So yeah, just very interesting times to live. Please keep discerning, guys. Please keep spreading the truth. Tell Christians in these big churches, if you know any, try and warn people of what is going on any way you can. Don't force it down people's throats, because the chances are they won't want to hear. But do just little things, guys, and pray. I'd recommend certainly praying that people's eyes would be opened that you speak to, and that we might be able to share Christ like there's no tomorrow, because who knows when that will be.
Your rod and your staff, they comfort me.
It's becoming pretty obvious that a lot of stuff in this world is tainted by this agenda and by this spiritual evil, which we need to be very aware of in order to discern it. There is a great deception coming upon the whole world, and the church is stuck right in the middle of that deception, and that is one of the potentially the clearest signs that we are in the last days, is the falling away of the church. And it is just happening all over, and in this video I hope to expose some of that deception and you know, give you clues on what things mean, and the deception that is coming and has already infiltrated the church. Now there is a big need to understand this, because these deceptions are so deeply laid out by the elite and by the satanic spiritual agenda. What we have to understand here is that this time they are externalizing the hierarchy. And why they're doing that, they are externalizing the hierarchy of a satanic New World Order. They're doing it with a lot of the controlled truth movement, with David Icke, with Alex Jones, people like that, who are, and Mark Dice. They're saying This satanic New World Order is evil and it needs to end. Now, why are they doing that if they are insiders? Well, it's because the satanic New World Order is the thesis, and the Antichrist, the false Jesus, is the antithesis. So they want you to want this system to end, and that is what they are doing at the moment. That is why they're externalizing the hierarchy, because they want you to hate the satanic. Proverbs 15 verse 14. The discerning heart seeks knowledge, but the mouth of a fool feeds on folly. Christ told us to be as wise as serpents, yet harmless as doves. Of course, we're not in this journey together to merely seek knowledge. We are in this journey together to not to be enlightened or to seek illumination. We are doing this to find out the truth of the times that we are in, the signs that we are seeing, and how to warn others and discern between what is good and what is not. Volvic water advert that I covered last video. Somebody, a few people said, well, this ad is not what you're saying. It's just about a volcano. It's just about water that comes from the volcano. Well, that's the exoteric meaning. That is not the esoteric meaning. There are two meanings. The one that publicly is known out in the open is the exoteric meaning, and that is the obvious one. That's the one you're fed on a plate. But the hidden hand, the spiritual truth behind it all, is the esoteric meaning, and that is the hidden hand that many will not see. And that does not mean it's not there if you don't see it. It just means your eyes aren't open to that, which I personally have had my eyes more opened when I prayed to God for our New World Order, and they want you to want a new Luciferian age of love and New Age spirituality, and that is the epitome of it all. That is why they are doing this and rolling this out at this time. It's a very, very deceptive trick. But it is all about slaying the dragon of the old world order and bringing in this new age of love and spirituality. But it's a false light, it is Luciferian light, and it is of the same beast. Now, what do you do when people they say to you, well, you're looking too deeply into this? I'm sure you know of people that do this. They think you're mad. They think you're mad because you're seeing something that isn't there. Okay, so the way you need to respond to that point, especially when you get atheists who say, well, there's no such thing, and you're looking too deeply. Just like the volcano